Hello and welcome back, guys, to Clockwork Noodles. It's been a bit of a break. I'm hoping you guys are doing well. You had a good new year. We are back and I can't wait to get my teeth back into it, breaking down the animes. And before we get going, in case you don't know who I am and you just met me, I am Clockwork Noodles. I love talking about anime, breaking things down. We look for symbolism, colour meanings. So we look a little bit deeper. So I will reel off what happened in order, but I'm going to be stopping along the way, trying to break down a few little pieces. First things first, I am an anime only, so I haven't read the manga. There's been obviously a few little spoilers floating around. I know a few, but I'm not going to be passing them on. I have a Discord channel which you guys can join, go ahead and have a look at. On that channel, you guys will be able to get notifications whenever videos go up. You'll also note that I am working on a new piece right now, which is called What's in a Design. So you guys can go over there, you get some ideas. Video 1 is up. We start breaking down characters just one per source. If you check out video 1, you'll kind of get an idea of what it's about, but I just want to do something a little bit more, so I'm starting to branch out on new ideas, so I really hope you guys like that format. If you see the subscribe button, if you just found me, if you like what I do, please give me a sub. That would help me massively, as this year I am attempting to hit a goal. Thank you so much if you are tuning in for the first time. Hello. And if you are tuning in for after the break and you have been supporting me so far, thank you so much for your support. You guys are amazing at support and I've had so much fun over the past few weeks just talking to you guys as well. Let's go into it. So we are breaking down season 2 of The Promised Neverland. Today's episode was full, absolutely jam-packed of details. This will be a slightly longer video, but the first episode always is because I need to talk about the ED and I need to talk about the OP. Let's quickly talk about where we open. We pick up straight away from the end of season 1. So Emma, Ray, the children are all running through the forest. So we have picked straight back up. So there's been no time gap. There's no delay or anything. I just like the optimism where Emma's like, oh, okay, it's fine. It's a game of tag. And then we just pan up to see this giant monster chasing the kids. And it's a game of tag where if you fall or you get caught by the person who's it, you die. Love the open. It kind of sets our fast paced. We're jumping straight into it. This episode is pretty fast paced. We ended up getting a lot more down than I thought we would. But let's take a break from the anime quickly and talk about the OP, because the OP gives us a lot of hints, a lot of spoilers to where the anime might be heading. It is Identity by Kiro Akiyama. First initial shot is some very brightly coloured normal flowers, human flowers, which is great. We then pan right and then we see that red flower, that ominous red flower, the flower from the first season, which grows and is placed upon the dead victims. As a colour, it means it's dangerous. The two contrasting images, so we see the happy brightness and the very dark danger that awaits them on the other side. So these both form images of hands. One is a human hand, the other one is a demon hand. I think it kind of gives us an idea of where season 2 is going to be focusing. We see Emma reaching upwards for some light, but we can see that the light is just out of her reach. So we have a visible hope, a visible freedom, just out of reach. So we know what Emma wants. She's reaching up, hoping to grab it. The colour around her is purple, which is a mystery colour. Purple is also a colour of calm, tranquil. She is essentially trying to reach up to a tranquil, calmer ocean, a calmer future. She wants to get up out of that red. The purple around her is tinged with red, so there is still danger lurking visibly around the image. We then cut to a clock within the evil red flowers, and it shows the time 9:05. We get the visual of a hare upon a dinner plate. Hares and rabbits are often seen as innocent, hopeful animals. They're also associated with Easter, the idea of rebirth and youth. We then get the visual of all the children sitting around the table to eat the rabbits. And I think this little segment here is just showing us a food chain. It's showing us that there's always someone one up on the food chain. It shows us the children's situation, that their fate is simply to end up as food. The visual then widens into the bigger picture of the children eating the rabbits. Then cut one step up again to see a child now laying dead with the flower in the heart upon a plate. And he himself has become food for the demons that are now higher up that food chain. The colour is popped, which is quite nice. The red stands out, which symbolises the danger and the blood. It pans out to reveal that there are several children now on plates all around, followed by these flowers. These flowers are just that red which sticks out more than anything else. And then we see our higher up life form, that we have the demons who are all praying, ironically, before they're about to eat their food, which I think some of these more human elements is going to be important this season. We then change to a red field of flowers, and we can see that there are children all leaving their orphanages, all wearing their hats with their little suitcases, thinking that they are going to go and find a family who is now waiting for them. But sadly, we know that they're all heading to their doom. And the red, again, does the sea of blood, essentially. We shift up the screen to get a visual of Emma once more reaching up for the shimmering, shining lights of hope. She is reaching up out of that red into the purple, so we will the shift of danger into that more tranquil, calm colour. Purple as a colour of mystery. What is going to be happening now? We're now out into the unknown, essentially. The light she's reaching for takes the form of a butterfly. Butterfly is another form for hope and freedom. All these images are then just colour popped. So colour popping is a little thing that where you drain an image of its colour and just focus in on one colour only. With this, it's red. We get an image of a monster with her hands out in front of her. There is blood pouring off them. The blood is the colour popped item here. It just creates a really striking image. We then see Phil at Graceland. We also see, presumably, the person who stands up at the top of all of this, the person who mediates between the monsters and the mothers, who is smiling coldly. So this image, I think, is going to be hopefully something that we're building to within this season to see who this man is, because obviously this person at the top stands upon everybody, and he's definitely that intermediate link between the two species. We see some interlocking fingers, which could mean one of two things. One, it could be trying to block out a horrible image, so you interlock your fingers to try and stop seeing what you're looking at. Or it's trying to protect whoever it is from whatever unknown force is coming at them. We see Emma's eyes popping out between the fingers, so it's probably her trying to block out the truth, also trying to protect herself from what fate has in store. We then see some children. So we see the children all lined up, then we shift to the monsters all lined up. So we're basically just trying to do that reverse, the reflection of the two, trying to have the two back to back. And then that cuts back to Emma once more reaching up. But this time, instead of the children leaving, everybody's facing Emma. So everybody has changed. Presumably, there are some characters here from season 2. We can see the 2 new people in the crowd as well. And everybody starts to grab for the light. Everybody is reaching for freedom. Everyone is reaching up for hope. The final images, we get the cast, all of our cast now jumping up towards the light with our demons included. All of our characters walk forward now into the sun, the beautiful yellow gold light going ahead, whilst we see Emma staring at the audience, who is then joined by Ray. Both of them turn to the light and we end on the clock. The clock is now back in the happy flowers, so it's not in the red flowers anymore, and it shows the same time. The clock has stopped, either indicating that it's either foreshadowing the story's end with the fact that they're going to try and beat fate. So obviously the hands of fate will stop. But then on the final note, we see it does actually move on. So there's a possibility that the overlying message will be that fate can't be stopped, but fate can be changed. I think it's a very nice EOP. I think it will have to grow on me a bit. I don't think it's as good as season 1's OP. And let's get to the episode itself. We are out of Graceland. We are into the forest. We are out into the unknown. And I like the fact that they linger very briefly on a white flower. White being the sign of hope, being innocent, like the children. The children all wear white because it's innocence, it's childhood, it's young, and it's a hopeful colour. It hasn't taken its colour just yet. And we're in this big, massive forest, and we've got some very beautiful wildlife going on. And I am going to credit them for creating a very interesting setting in world building. Like, all of these animals are really lovingly drawn. And same with the plants as well. Ray providing Emma with the biggest jump scare. He tries to calm her down essentially by saying that there's no markings around and that everybody should be safe here. But we get a really nice little moment where Ray actually apologises for not cooperating, and he blames himself for Emma losing her ear in the end. So it's a very nice little moment. We also get the background, we've got the birds chirping. So it is a low moment. It's a quiet moment before the storm. Before things get crazy once again, we need a quiet moment just to mull over what's just happened. And it's nice to see that Ray has finally found a reason to live. His problem was he was all ready to sacrifice himself. He was happy to give himself up as a sacrifice, especially last season. But now he says that he's going to try and continue to live to protect the family, to protect Emma, which is nice to see. He has a new renewed hope for this season. Let's go into a new season, Ray, and let's try and be different. And the first plan of action essentially for everybody is to locate some water, which is normally a great idea. then decide to look at the pen that was left behind by Norman. We start getting those questions once more. Who is William Minerva, the man who has left many symbols within Graceland itself in the books? The mystery now continuing here. It's going to be something that hopefully drives the plot forward. We finally open up the pen to reveal a number. And it ends up with a hologram, but it's a different set of numbers initially. So it ends up that the numbers we're seeing are coordinates. So thanks to Emma being a very smart cookie, she's able to work out, especially on this map as well. And I've got to say, this world presumably is huge. It looks massive on the map, but then again, we don't know if that's grids and we don't exactly quite know what we're looking at because it doesn't really, I don't see any circles on there for where Graceland would have been. I don't know whether it's just coordinates per grid or whether they really are going to be looking for Minerva, who seems to be in a completely different location from them. We work out that the Morse code spells touch me. We start to remind ourselves of the owl stamp that we saw last season in the books. The guys ended up bringing the mythology book with them because it didn't have a Morse code. It was the only one which didn't have a Morse code in it. And I gotta say, it is thank God these kids are smart, because anybody else would have been sat there going, I have actually no idea how to work this out. I would definitely be one sat there going, I don't know what to do. They've managed to deduce that the book is a code breaker. So the one with no actual Morse code has the code in it. So the password ends up being human, which is quite ironic because that is also in the ED, which I'll get to later. I have a message by Minerva. If you need my help, come and visit me. And that's when we get some coordinates. So we now know the location of him. Is this guy still alive? How long ago did he leave those books in the library? The children have a quiet moment where we lament for Norman, who is no longer with us. That is when Yvette starts to notice a few of the plants. So we saw her initially looking at the white plant that we lingered on. She ends up linking it to the adventures of Ugo. Thankfully, they actually also have this book with them. I don't remember them picking it up, but they also brought the book with them. And it turns out that the anemones that she is looking at have store water. So they're actually able, finally, something goes right, they're able to find some water without actually having to go to the river. Because if they'd have gone to the river, the demons pursuing them would have gone, well, that's really easy. They're going to go and find water. So they would have been cornered a lot quicker. Definitely, I think with this season, it's definitely going to have a change of pace, a change of theme. I think first season was amazing as a mystery thriller, and it was really, really amazing to just work it out. There was a lot of details going on. But this one here, I think at the moment, we've kind of turned more to a survival anime, an anime where we now need to survive the world that we're in. But I really do have to say again, I love the design for this forest. This forest really feels like it's in a new world. We've got shafts of light coming through the forest, and we've got all these different animals which are really well developed. The children feel a bit more comforted knowing that Minerva is guiding them to help. So we've got a goal. We start to see Emma starting to sweat again, and I noticed it because they kept zooming in on her wiping her forehead and she looked like she was sweating. I'm not sure why she didn't take off the scarf. So if she was feeling warm, maybe taking off a scarf, but then again, that could have just alerted them to the fact that she had a temperature. Well, we cut back, and I gotta say, the plant that they cut to, and we see it again later, I love this plant. I really wish this plant was real. It's like bioluminescent crystals which glow, and it acts like lights. I adore this idea, and I know there's a few magical people on Etsy who make glowing mushrooms and glowing lights with actual like LEDs in them. This is definitely something that someone needs to make at some point. It looks great. We see the enemy, our demons, who are now to be tracking the children. They talk, they have massive swords with them, and it's nighttime. So definitely continuing with like that edgy factor that it's now going to get a bit creepier because they're following them. And they've definitely got better sense than the kids have because they can smell. Gonna go back to the bioluminescence, the jellyfish, the plants, the whole world comes to life. Even if it is dark and it's nighttime, the world still feels real. Everything feels different from the cozy little world within the orphanage that we've kind of lived within for season 1. We're now out into the open. We have absolutely no idea what's out there. So we, like the children, we have no idea, and we are discovering alongside them that what the world is going to hold. So I really like the way they've done that. The suspense starts to build up, and then we can see that something is wrong. So the children start to hear sounds, but it's a little bit too late. So they end up turning the lights out just a little bit on the late side, and we get the rush of what looks like fireflies, but they're probably not fireflies, coming at them as the fireflies are trying to get away from something. It leads us back into the opening scene. So we actually opened a little bit into the anime itself. And this time, though, we have the music. We've got the atmosphere. It's all building up. Don, our boy, he manages to work out to split up the groups, which is great because the monster then only follows one of the two. And it works a little bit. He does actually manage to buy time. It ends up smacking into a branch. We see a pitfall, something which I think they call it like snakes. It reminds me of Devil's Snare from Harry Potter, where you fall in, you kind of sink and that's it, you're in the pit. It reminds me of that a little bit. And the plan which Ray comes up with, which could have worked, I think it would have probably worked, is we're going to try and lure the monster into the trap so he can't get out. And we do see Ray taking the lead because he is Tag King, but he tries to convince her that it's not because he wants to sacrifice himself. Ray showing a bit more of character development. He's already taking some steps in growth as a character. But before the great plan can be unraveled, I think it would have worked still. The monster's head is decapitated off, and things go bad to worse as we are now in front of the enemy. The enemy has found them. Well, essentially, they have found Ray. It's the way that this scene is handled quite nicely, where it's dark, there's suspense starting to build. Ray is nervously trying to hide behind a tree. He's also trying to carve out a message to the rest of them, which ends up not being seen anyway, so the guys don't actually go and see that message. The enemy know he's there, and they start to call him out, which must be quite terrifying because he's being called out. They're speaking English, and he can hear them, and they even know the fact that he's on his own. He kind of submits to the idea that he's going to sacrifice himself for the good of the rest. So he jumps out and ends up saying, "I'm the only one who's left." He's basically trying to put the scent off the others to allow the other ones to get ahead. And that's when he runs away, leading the pursuers away from where the main group is. So that gives us a chance to hopefully get the main group going out. It's just that creepy build of suspense once more as we hear that high-pitched whistle, which leads us straight back into the main group, who just all they hear is a whistle. And just can you imagine hearing that very high-pitched whistling sound in the middle of the night in a forest that you have no idea what's going on? Also knowing that there is a monster out there, pursuers out there, and one of your group is out there battling that. That must be terrifying. Ray ends up being chased down by two of the demons. They're kind of on all fours, so they definitely look like they're faster. But Ray is keeping up a good chase, where again we see Emma really struggling, and they even say, "You're as pale as a ghost." She's like, "No, I'm gonna go and check on Ray," which I think is that thing like Emma tries to take it all on herself. I think Ray even said that at the beginning of the episode. You need to accept that don't burden it alone, but we're still seeing Emma doing that. She's just burdening it all on her own. She doesn't mention the fact that she doesn't feel very well, and she ends up trying to tell the others to go downhill, but she ends up collapsing, alerted to the fact that the wound on her ear has opened up, and she's gained a fever from that. And as the group starts to panic, we all hear a female voice calling through the forest. We then see that figure standing there surrounded by these lights. It's just the way that she's standing, and it's the lights from before. We saw the lights in the OP, and it makes me wonder if this is the guiding light. So this is the light that Emma was reaching for. It's hope. And obviously there's the questions like, who the hell is she? Which we'll probably get next episode anyway. But I can tell by the way that the anime is framing it that she's definitely not the same as the ones who are pursuing. She's definitely different. There's definitely different about her. I'll also mention at the end as well, I've got just a note on the hair colour, which gives me a bit of information about her that may not be easily picked up upon if you don't really know your colours. Very smartly, Gilda asks her to reveal her face. And then we get that very low-key, very eerie smile, which then cuts, because that's meant to be building some of that suspense, cutting back to Ray. But sadly, Ray ends up being cornered by everybody and collapses. But he did put up a good fight. But just as he's about to be picked up by the monsters, Ray is rescued by a man on a horse, or a demon on a horse, if you want to call it that. Ray is rescued by a demon man on a demon horse. There we go. He ends up losing his pursuers, but the pursuers end up going after the group because they don't believe that Ray's telling the truth. And this is when it gets to the very interesting segment. There's a lot of different colours going on in this next segment. Ray awakes in a cave. That plant as well, guys. I really, really want this plant. I love it. If anyone starts making these plants, let me know. There is a green filter. Green filter, basically, green is the colour of nature. So obviously there's a lot of nature this episode. We're basically out in nature. It's peace, it's calm, and growth. And the way I think growth is very important is because Ray's character is already starting to show a lot of growth. Last season, he went from kind of having no real purpose to help anybody, and unless it was Emma and Norman, to this time he's ready to protect the entire family. He's found a reason to live, and he's also trying to lose that self-destructive sacrificial drive to like sacrifice himself for everybody else. He's starting to think a little bit more logically how he can basically protect everybody without the need to sacrifice himself, which is quite cool. So I think the green filter works really, really nicely in here, but it really is supposed to be showing us that it's peaceful, it's calm. It's completely different from the cold blue of the forest from before, where the blue is cold, it is unknown, whilst the green right now at least feels calming. He ends up stumbling upon Emma, who is asleep, where we get a very nice moment of her hugging him, relieved to see that he has not died. But I think it's also because she's relieved that she hasn't lost her second best friend. The two start to ponder about the rescuers, why they were both left. We note that there was a bell left if anybody needed help and some water. So obviously we had the natural questions: where are the other people? Who rescued them? Why did they rescue them? Are they anything to do with Minerva? They are not tied up. So we know that they've healed Emma. They've not tied them up, so they're definitely not being treated like prisoners. And that's when our girl comes back. She reveals she treated Emma and that she used some herbs and they've worked. So Emma definitely now hopefully feels a lot better. But she tries to reassure them, saying that you're going to be safe here and that apparently the rest of the children are about to have food. Ray asks her about the man who saved him, and we get a name for him. So he is called Sonju. But she does also state that she doesn't know who William Minerva is. So these guys don't have a link to William Minerva. So we can definitely say they're either a different group that we've not met yet, or they're acting on their own, these two. Perhaps. They're my little theories so far. Ray ends up, however, working it all out. I already figured this out as well. They're demons. There you go, guys. Surprise. They're demons. I'm not going to lie. The demon girl, she's used on the teaser poster and the actual main image of the anime. So it was very difficult not to know who she was and what she was, because it's kind of been spoiled in the actual picture. So I already knew she was a demon. So there was no big surprise or shock on that one. We cut to the ED with Sonju slowly coming up behind the two, and we kind of leave on Emma looking absolutely terrified, because who the hell are these guys? Are they about to die? Are these guys telling the truth? Why did they help them? Lots of questions. They're not gonna. And I've got a few reasons why. The ED is Maho, which I believe means demon. I'm pretty sure Maho is demon, and it's by Miyuk. I'm not keen on the ED. I just love Touch Off so much, and I love the soundtrack for season 1. Maybe this will grow on me. We open on a window with cross-hatching about it. The world outside is bright, but we ourselves are behind the glass, only looking out. Sonju and the girl walk in sunset, in some sunlight, where we see a full moon coming out behind some clouds. A full moon definitely is symbolized with the uncovering of truth and secrets coming out. Thus, season 2's focus is going to be unraveling the mysteries of the outside world and finally getting some of these secrets and these kind of truths out in the open. We see the clock once more, but this time it is overgrown. But yeah, we go back to the clock in the hill, which I've just figured out as I'm working, guys. Sometimes I do this. It's the clock from Graceland, isn't it? And 9:05 is probably the time it's the time they escaped. Sometimes I'm an idiot. Sometimes I have these moments where I work things out. So yes, we actually see the overgrown Graceland with the hill, the clock in the side, and time has now stopped. Obviously, time stopped to Graceland. We had the fire. So I'm guessing the children have gone to a different orphanage, because they probably haven't had a chance to rebuild it. So the orphanage is burnt down. But it's interesting to see that in this, the clock doesn't really have any fire damage on it. It's just overgrown. So the fact that this is overgrown tells me that it's taken place in the future. So at some point in the future, if you were going back to Graceland, you would see that the clock, the ruins, everything would be overgrown, taken over by nature. Where green, I think, is quite nice, because I mentioned green earlier being the colour of nature. Nature takes over everything. And I find it fascinating to see the abandoned towns and stuff getting taken over by nature. Nature basically reclaims everything in the end. Everything goes back to how it should be. We see a bunch of pipes and cogs. We see some demon feet, and we see a tree in the moonlight, where we're treated to a very nice warming picture of Sanju and the girl who are eating some food over a campfire. And we get a really nice shot of the girl's actual hair colour, and it's purple. So purple, how I know this girl, it means no damage whatsoever. Purple is mystery, purple is magic, but it's also a gentle colour. And it's tranquil, it's calm. It's also the OP, the colour which opposes the red in the OP. So the main two colours in the OP are red and purple. I already said purple is a better colour to be in. The red represents fear, it represents danger, but the purple is tranquil. Emma is reaching out for the purple. The colour, the character design itself, and a few of these little images in the ED kind of show that I don't think I have anything to worry about in the sense of her anyway. Sanju I haven't got a good look at yet, but once he comes up, I'll do a character breakdown for him, because anything new coming into this season, we'll have a little look at it before it happens. We then get some quick flashes now. So we see the clock starting to tick, so time's moving on again, where we see a child leaving happily to her unknowing demise, which I think is why the clock is ticking. So when the time was moving, the children would just go out and end up being eaten. We end up seeing the red bow on her top. It is colour popped. So colour popping again being used to show us that red is the main colour. That red of blood, that red fear, that red danger, that is the main colour surrounding all of these little sequences. The girl is then dead, and we have the flower within the heart, and it is red. So time ticked, she ended up going away, and when time was ticking, people were dying. So the idea of the clocks in the OP and the ED with them being stopped, I think is very, very important, because we want to get those clocks stopping. We don't want anybody now going out to die. We end up seeing lots of children in vials who are waiting to be eaten, some feet of the children, which is an interesting shot, and then a snowy scene of the exit gate for Graceland. And essentially, that was the only way to really leave Graceland, and that was basically into death. So anyone leaving would go into death. The scene itself is full of snow, it's full of cold, it's unfeeling. Snow also covers things up, so it normally hides everything. So apart from Phil, none of the children actually know what's going on. So the kids who are left behind, the ones who are too young to know anything, nobody knows any different. So we're surrounded by all these the truth being covered up by the snow. Somebody walks over some scattered red petals. We don't know who it is, but something has been destroyed. Something lays broken on the floor. We get a shot of the interior of Graceland and some books. Very importantly, the word on the book says human. So you can see that here, hopefully if I slow it down for you guys. And again, the password this week for Minerva's code was human. Presumably we see Norman. I'm not sure if this is Norman, but the character we see is colourless, no colour whatsoever, looking out into a white light, being nothing more than a memory, perhaps. I think there might be a bit more to that, but I'm not going to go back to it. We cut to a beautiful purple starry sky, purple being a very important colour during this anime season, I think. The mystery, the calm, tranquilness, purple, a really, really nice colour. It's also my favourite colour as well, guys. It spins around and it settles on an image of Emma with her hands out reaching to the beautiful light, where we cut back to the overgrown window, which again is the idea of something being destroyed, is now being overgrown by nature once more, being left in the past. We then get a cut at the very end of the ruins of Graceland, covered up, forgotten, overgrown. So this, I think, is definitely maybe foreshadowing the end, that maybe we go back one day right at the end to see the place and it's overgrown, reclaimed by nature covering everything up, so we never know what horrors were occurring here at this place. Nature covers it all up, it makes it all better, it makes it all go away. And we saw that with snow, the idea of the snow covering everything up. Everything ends up being covered up once and for all, being forgotten. The ED, the OP, I think are telltale. There's a lot of telltale signs going on about where the season might be heading. And there's a lot of little bits and pieces giving me little links in my head to where I think it's going to go. Very, very clever. I don't think it's done very subtly. I think season 1 was a little bit more subtle on hints and what might be happening. But these are very, very good. It's the first anime I'm breaking down for winter 2021. And of course, it's got to be something with such heavy symbolism. But I think I'm excelling. I'm getting better at breaking down these things. So hopefully you guys, if you have been following me since the other season, you guys can see some improvement. I have been working my little socks off, and you might have noticed within the new feature, What's in a Design, I have started to work on the way I present things. I've been researching a bit more just so I can give you guys more information and a little bit more details. Absolutely excited about this anime season. The Promised Neverland was such a good anime, and I'm so happy that we get a season 2 and I get to break it down with you guys because I love it. I thought it was fantastic. But I will tell you guys that I know the major spoiler because I'm an idiot, and I'm going to give you a little story time. I ended up going to Forbidden Planet in London and seeing the latest manga for The Promised Neverland, and I was like, oh my god, I love this anime. Let me pick it up and have a look at, like, little flick through. And I opened it on the one page, the one big spoiler, and I was kicking myself. So I'm not going to be ruining it for you guys. But yes, I know a big spoiler, but it's not going to be coming out because I want to be here with you guys as we break it down, try and figure out all the mysteries. I hope you guys look forward to the breakdowns. And also, again, with the colours and things, hopefully I'm pointing things out that you may not have realised. Do give this video a like if you learn anything. Do you enjoy the colour breakdowns? Do you enjoy me like picking out little symbolisms and stuff? This is going to be the anime to do it. I think this is going to be the heaviest anime on the channel this season. This is an anime which is full of details. It's chock full of mysteries and details and symbolism. And I can't wait. I really can't wait to see where this season takes us. Please subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of thing or you want to see where the channel goes. I will eventually get the anime schedule up on the channel so you guys know what's going on. Most of the details I give out on Discord so you know if there's any delays, but this one came out a little bit earlier, so I'm getting my teeth into it now. As of next week, you will also have Dr. Stone back to back, so Dr. Stone will be also coming out. But lots of things to look forward to, guys. Right now, I'm not on my own PC, so I don't have all my files, so I don't have the channel schedule as of yet. I am breaking down full animes this season. If you are curious to what they are, the Winter 2021 video is up on the channel too. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. I really hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below if you learned anything or had some fun with it. Make sure you guys take care of yourself and have a good weekend. Bye bye, guys.